we're gonna start with the bricks back here. Okay? So you need to get a brick color. Take some yellow and some red and some white and a little bit of black to start with. And some white. We're gonna mix a brick color. So let's take some red and a whole bunch of white. So you get kind of a pink color, and add some yellow to it. We want to get kind of an orangey brick color, but we want it to be pale. And we can put a teeny tiny bit of black, just a tiny little corner of black, just to tone it down a little bit because we don't want to have bright pink bricks. And you're going to start about 2/3 of the way down on your canvas, and you're going to cover the whole top of your canvas. So right now just cover it, don't worry about anything else. Okay, we're gonna go down about here, and then we'll just cover it up. Mine is way too pink, so I'm gonna add some more yellow to it and make it a little more orange. You can make your bricks whatever color you want. I mean, you can make them just straight light brown if you want to, or you know, that's totally subjective. Just bear in mind we're going to be putting purple and orange flowers in front of them, so you want something that will stand out. Don't worry about putting the paint on kind of thick, that's fine. You can have some streaks and some spots and stuff like that in it because brick is not totally even in color. And then what we're going to do while this is still wet, because it really doesn't matter if it bleeds into it or not, is we're going to do we're going to mix some black with a bunch of white. It doesn't matter if you still have pink on your brush or not. We want to get a grout color, so we want to get kind of a gray tone for the grout. Remember that acrylics dry darker than they appear when they're wet, so make sure you take that into account. And then we're going to do about 4 rows of bricks, so you just start with a horizontal line across like this for grout, and then do another one up here and another one up here. So what we're doing right now is we're just blocking it in. And we're going to come back and add detail and stuff, but we're blocking in where the bricks are and where the grout is. So then you're going to do lines coming down this way for your bricks, and just make sure you stagger them like bricks are staggered. Put your bricks in, or your mortar in. Okay, so now you're going to take some black and add it to that gray and make it a little bit darker. We're going to do a little bit of shading on the mortar. And don't worry if your mortar's still wet, we'll just blend it in a little bit. So you're going to run shading. This is going to seem a little counterintuitive, but it's going to be a little bit darker along the top edge, because that's where the brick shadows over the mortar. So you're going to have like a little shadow up here. So just go along and put a little shadow in. You don't need to blend it too much. You can just go like this and blend it down into your mortar if you want to. It makes it look okay. Notice I'm still using my wide brush. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you use your wide brush sideways, it actually makes this part of the painting go by pretty quickly. So that way your mortar looks a little more realistic. For the up and down, we're going to put the shading on the right side of the mortar. Our light's going to come from the right side. Our light's coming from the right side, so it's going to cast a little shadow over here on this part. So you want to do your mortar, let me get a little more dark on there. You want to make it darker on the right side, like that. If you have, for the most part, they're going to be covered up. So we're not going to spend a lot of time doing a ton of detail on the brick. Then you can take your smaller brush, just blend it a little bit here around the corner so it looks like it all goes together. It's not just stuck on top of itself. Then we're going to go over our bricks and give them another layer of color. So this is where you can adjust the color of your bricks if you want to a little bit. I want to make mine a little paler, I think. So I'm going to take this color that I have for my bricks and I'm going to add some white and just mix it in so I have just a lighter color. And I'm just going to take my middle-sized brush, tap a lot of the paint off of it, and we're just going to start doing this kind of uneven stuff to the bricks so that you're getting some texture on them. So do 1 or 2 bricks like I'm doing. Just kind of tap, 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 tap like this. So you get a little bit of texture on there. Add a little bit of black to the brick color too. And go back over the same 2 bricks with kind of a grayish pinkish color so that you get some more texture on them. We want to make the bricks look like they're sticking out a little bit, not the mortar. So you want to come along and give your brick a little bit of edge on the right hand side, and then just go like this and just kind of get your colors. You can pat with your brush kind of sideways like this, and then you can make them on the bottom, just make them kind of overhang a little bit like that. So just make them overhang the mortar a little bit. And your bricks do not have to be exactly the same color. So if one is lighter than the one next to it, that's fine. That makes it look a little more natural anyway. Because bricks are very, unless you got those, you know, gray concrete bricks, they're not going to be exactly the same color. As I keep saying, the fun thing about painting is you get to decide what's on there. And it does not have to look like a photograph. It just needs to look like a painting. And as you know, as long as people can tell kind of what it is you painted, then you succeeded. You can also kind of round the edge of the brick if you want to, here and there where it looks like the grout is a little uneven or something. Oh, you guys' paintings from last week looked really good. I was impressed. I really was. I thought y'all did a real good job on it. Birds are fun, aren't they?
Yeah, it was.
Mix up some green if you don't have green. If you do have green, you can use it, but you will need to lighten and darken it by adding some yellow to it or whatever. If you don't have green, mix up yellow and black. Remember, that makes green. Makes a nice kind of an olive green like we want to have to do our background. And then over here, just take your brush even with that green paint still on it. And then you're just going to go across. Now for this part, you can use, just to cover the canvas, you can go ahead and use your wide brush, but then you'll switch to your medium in a minute. So it's totally up to you, but you can cover the canvas faster if you use your wide brush. So just streak your green paint on. You want to use a little bit of dark, a little bit of light. It can be streaky, so just keep mixing up however much paint you want. Now once you've got it streaked in like this, then you're going to take your medium brush and you're going to start up at the top here of your grass, and you're going to dab on some light green, and you're going to alternate between light and dark green, and you're just going to start doing some blades of grass like this. Just take your brush and just do blades of grass up. Take your brush and dip it in yellow and do some yellow like this. And then you're going to work your way down, all the way down doing grass. Go between light and dark so you have differences in blades of grass color and stuff. Just come down your canvas to the next section and just start doing some grass going this way too. So dip it in your yellow so that your blades of grass show up. All the way down to the bottom of the canvas. Just make them fast strokes. Now you want to start at the bottom and lift up as you get toward the top. So that makes it go to a point. So start at the bottom and then lift your brush up as you do the stroke. Do it quickly. The more quickly you do it, the more random it will seem. Don't place all your blades of grass in a row. With the pumpkins and with the flowers, you can kind of vary your colors a little bit. I was going for, with the flowers, mums. I just bought some mums yesterday from Armstrong because I wanted to brighten up my patio a little bit. And I bought some purple and orange, and they look so pretty next to each other. So that's why I thought we would do that, because purple and orange are actually a really, really pretty contrast. What we're going to do next is, remember I said we were going to do a little wash on top of the bricks. On your plate, just take a little tiny bit of white. You just need a tiny little bit like this, and find a dry spot on your plate if you have one. You want to get super, super thin white paint on there. As watery as it can be. Now if I were you, I would test it like right down here on the grass where the pumpkin's going to be. What you want to see is if you can see the color through it or not. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just go up here and we're just going to go across like this, and we're going to push this back a little bit. It's dry by now, so we're going to fade it into the background because we don't want it to be as intense in color as the flowers and everything are going to be. So we're just going to fade it back a little bit. The vases are going to be, I'm going to make one a little bit higher than the other one, but they're both sitting right here in front of the wall. So basically all you want to do for the vase shape is make it get narrower toward the bottom like this. Just make it straight, bring it down into your green, make it come across like this, and then make it come back up here kind of matching, and then fill it in with black. Do the orange one down a little bit further, and it goes off the edge of the painting. So it's over here like this, and it'll go off the edge of the painting like this, so you won't see the other side of it. And then you can take a little bit of white and just put some white over on this side where the light is, just to make it a little more gray. Okay.
The side of the jar.
Just on the side of the jar. Yep. Just to get it so that it looks like there's a little bit of light shining on it. Not okay. You can do it while the black is still wet. It'll just kind of blend into a gray color. We're going to do red and blue together to get a nice dark purple. You see how it's turning into a dark purple right there? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your medium-sized brush and you are going to start tapping in flowers. Now we're going to start at the top because we want to have the flowers up here, and then the flowers as we come down here are closer to us. So you're going to take your purple and you're just going to hold your brush like this, and you're just going to start tapping in flowers like this. So you're just tapping with your brush different shapes. Okay, so basically with the dark color you want to tap in kind of where your flowers are going to be. You don't have to cover the whole thing or, you know, the whole area, but you want to tap in, you know, how your flowers are going to be growing. And you start up here at the top and just tap them in, and we're going to go all the way down to the flower pot. So you can do little bunches of them like this. You can do them kind of random, but you're tapping your brush. If your brush feels like it's too wide to do the tapping, tip it this way and use the corner. So the corner makes smaller little shapes. You also can tap some on top of the pot down here because some of it will be hanging over the pot. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take white and add it to that lighter purple color.
I got white, yeah.
Yeah, I got some right here.
Yeah. Just add white to it, and then you go in and you do the same thing, but you fill it in. You're filling in the spaces now. So these are the lighter parts of the petals that show up. And you're gonna just kind of follow the shape of your plant a little bit, but it's not totally solid. You want to have the variations in colors showing through. Now bear in mind that you can always come back in, you know, later on when you're looking at the video and working on it, and you can add more depth to your flowers, and it's just by changing the shades of the purple and blue and everything. So you just make it lighter, darker, whatever it is you're going for. It's very easy to give the effect of a pot full of flowers this way without having to paint every one. So I'm going to add a little more white still to that purple that I had.
Oh.
So right now I'm on my fourth color. So I started dark, then I added red to it, then I added white to that, and now I'm adding more white. Tap this white kind of along the top edges of the flowers. So you kind of want to hit them like this, and then you'll get, like if you mash your brush down a little bit sideways, if you mash it down a little bit, you get kind of like, looks like flower petals and stuff. So just see how I'm doing my brush. I've got it sideways and I'm mashing it like that, but I'm just doing it really fast. So what I get is I get a light edge here and a darker edge there, and that's perfectly fine because that makes it look more dimensional. And if you come down here over the flower pot, see, you can put some flowers down here that are hanging down. And you just keep going, and you can add ridges of flowers like this, or like bunches of flowers, I should say, not ridges. So you're just going up like this and adding more. So this is what you'll do to finish your flowers. We're going to move on, and the reason we're going to move on is because we've got to make sure we get to the pumpkins tonight. But you can keep doing this to your flowers until you're satisfied with the way they look. And see, you can see here I just did, it's exactly what I did there with colors and stuff. I just added to it. So let's switch over to the orange one because we gotta keep moving here. So we're gonna mix some red and yellow until you get a dark orange color. And you're going to do the same thing, except I started it up a little bit higher and just did the same, exact same thing that I did with the other one. Dip your brush in some yellow and just start blending it on top, and it'll turn into a really pretty orange like this, and you'll have yellow and orange. Okay, so what you do with the grass is you just mix up a little more grass like you had before, some of the black and yellow. And this is, you'll do the same thing with the pumpkins too, but you're just going to take some grass and just bring it up over the bottom of your pot. So it's like this, so that the pot looks like it's sitting in the grass. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the pumpkin. To do a pumpkin, like I said, the trick with a pumpkin is to realize that it doesn't have to be totally even. But I think the easiest thing to do with it, and actually what we're going to do is, well, we'll go ahead and try it this way and see what happens. If this doesn't work, then I'll show you something else on the video. So we're going to take orange and red, yellow and red, and make a nice dark orange. I'm going to start with the orange one, and he's going to be down here, kind of below this pot, and he's a little bit sideways. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with his first little ridge right here. You're going to make it rounded and make it like this, so it's this kind of a shape, and make it round on the bottom. I still have some wet black, so it's looking a little weird there. He's not quite big enough. I'm going to make him a little bit bigger. You can make your pumpkins whatever size you want to make them. Okay, so there's the first one. Then you come over to the right, and you come off this edge a little bit and make another one, but it's just one side of it. It's not the whole round shape. It's just half of it. And it comes down and goes like this too. And then what you do is go over here on the other side and make one going the other way. Don't worry about making it totally even. Just make it go like this down. You're going to have another one off to the side over here like this, and then another one off to the side, but I wouldn't do a complete one over here. I would do just like bring it out and bring it kind of in like this. Now that's what your pumpkin looks like. And then what you start to do is you start adding more color to it. Bring your dryers with you to class if you're not already, and if you don't have a dryer, you can use a hair dryer, or you can order one on Amazon. I think one of the lists that I posted on the page and under files has a link. Then you will highlight this back part back here like this. Also highlight this. So you keep adding highlights. Now what you want is you want your pumpkin to be lighter on the top than he is on the bottom, because the light is hitting the top of the pumpkin. So you can keep the bottom fairly dark and start adding yellow to make the top a lighter orange like that. You want to get a lighter orange color in. So that's how you do the pumpkin. I'll add a little more onto the video to show you a little more detail on how to do it. So he's going to go a little bit like this off this direction. You're going to do a center for him. You make him kind of this dark color to begin with. And you're going to do the same thing, but he's kind of sitting a little sideways. And then you're just going to add his sections in like this. Now they're going to run into the orange pumpkin, but that's okay. You just bring it down here and run it into the orange pumpkin like that. Okay? So you're doing your sides. Yeah. And then you just keep adding white to it to do your shading and stuff. But those are the basic colors for those of you that want to go ahead and, you know, work on it. It'll take me till tomorrow to get the video ready to go. Kind of block him in first, and then you come back in and start doing your shading on your sections. Yeah, there's one more section up here like this that's going to come around. Okay, so that's basically how you're going to lay your pumpkins in, and then we will quit for tonight, but I'll finish up the video so you can use it in the next couple of days to finish up your painting. I'm gonna, there, okay. So now he's covered up, all that black yuckiness is gone, which is what we want. So I'm gonna blow him dry. Now what I want you to do, it's kind of a shortcut in a way, but it also gives you a basis to work on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix up a lighter orange, like this, more of a pumpkin color. It's still a little dark, but that's okay because we want it to be a little bit dark. And you're going to take your brush, this is a flat brush, and we're going to go over to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing, but we're not going to put as much of a highlight on it. We're going to go over here and do this one. So this part is going to, you'll notice I'm going outside my pumpkin a little bit. I'm doing that on purpose because I'm trying to make him a little bit bigger. There's the outside one right there. And you can smooth your paint out a little bit so that you don't have a big, huge blob of paint right there. Then you're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side again. You're going to take orange and yellow on your brush at the same time, and you're going to do the next section. So you start it part way, and you go like this down for the next section. Now the section doesn't have to be exactly the same size as the one next to it. Then you take your brush and you go like this, and you go halfway on the line that you just did, and you go like this and smooth it out. Okay, so you don't have the big blob of paint there, but you still have the shading. Don't try to make this stroke perfect. This is just a guideline. You're going to come back in and fix it in a minute. So then you're going to go here. You're going to make the next one over on this side. And he can be a little bit wider. The thing about pumpkins is that they're not necessarily perfect, as I said before, so you can make a difference in their little segments. Okay, so there's that one. I'm going to make, just for fun, I'm going to make a real skinny one over here on the side before I do the main one in the front. Oops, get a little more yellow on my brush so I can see it. I'm going to do a kind of a skinny one right here. Okay, wipe my brush off and go down and do this. Okay, so now you're ready to do the main section, and take your straight orange color and paint it in like this. You're going to have a little bump up here where the top of it is, and you want to paint it just a straight orange right in the middle like this. And then you're going to take a little bit of the yellow and come around the edge on this side only, because this is the side that's toward the light. Okay, so you make it come down like that. And you're going to take a little bit of the darker orange that you had before and bring it up here on this side. Okay, there. It's very easy. I'm doing it slow on purpose. I'll probably speed it up. But what we're doing is laying in the sections, and now we're going to go in and highlight them. Okay, so now you go in, add a little more yellow, so you get a lighter orange color. You want to come in up here, and you're going to make the edges stand out a little more. Okay, and you don't have to have them stand out down here on the bottom part, because that is going to be darker. When your paint starts to drag a little bit, just barely tip your brush in some water, tap the water off, and you can do this, and that'll help it blend down into your other colors. Okay, so you can also take a brush that's a little bit wet and blend these. Just blend them in so you don't have streaks on them. Now on the other side, it's going to be just the straight orange on these sections right here. So you have this one goes up like this and comes around. We are going to add a tiny bit of blue to this orange right here, and we're going to get a kind of a brownish color. So see how we're getting kind of a brown? And we're going to very lightly, without using a lot of paint, we're going to go in here and we're going to accent where the curves are. So we're going to go like this, so you can get the curve in there. And like this, where this one is. Mainly we want to do this color kind of down toward the bottom of the pumpkin, because he's going to be, that part's in shadow. So you can go like this. Because it curves under, the light doesn't hit it. Okay, so just put a little bit of that color down there. And then you can bring it up. Here's where I would use a little water to just make the paint flow a little smoother. Okay, so there's that. And there's that one. And this one. Okay, so there's that pumpkin, and we're going to make him a little bit darker on the opposite side from where the light is. So we're going to take that brownish color and just apply a thin coat of it, especially down about here. The top part can stay a little brighter because it's still getting hit by the light. Okay, now we're going to let that dry, and because we're getting too much paint on there right now, and I'm going to let it dry while I work on the other one, and then we'll come back and put highlights on it and clean and add the grass, and we'll be done. So to make our base color for the other pumpkin, we're going to do a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, and we'll add some white to it. So when you're mixing, try and mix a little bit at a time. Don't mix all your paint at once unless you really already know what you're doing. Sometimes you have to test it a little bit to make sure you get the color right. So we're going to take some blue and some yellow, just a scoop of each, mix them together. Now that's a little bit green for what I want, so I'm going to add a tiny bit more blue to it to make it a little more of an aqua kind of color. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so we're going to paint. You can see I already got this guy painted in, so I'm just going to go over him again with this dark color because I did him in a really big hurry last night. So let's go over him. And it's basically the same thing that we did with the other one, which is you're going to make little segments and then do the shading. So there's his outside section. Remember, your pumpkin doesn't have to be a perfect shape. He can be kind of oblong, he could be short and fat, he could be whatever shape you want him to be, or whatever shape he turns out when you're painting him. Sometimes that's it more than anything else, is what happens when you're actually painting him. There's the other section right there. He is behind the orange pumpkin, although this is your painting, so you could make him in front if you want to. I just put him behind. There's another section right there. And the front section. Okay, so now you're going to take some white paint, a scoop of white paint, and put it in here. So just take a brush full of white paint, put it in here, and we're going to start to give him his real color. So we're going to go over here. We want to put this in. Okay, so there he is. There's the first section. We'll come back here and do this part, which is the little section behind the stem. And we're going to do this out like this. He's a little bit blue, so I'm going to, there are a couple of ways to fix that, but I decided this time I'm just going to do the wet on wet one. So what I'm doing is mixing a little yellow in here with my light aqua. See if I can get him a little greener. Okay, so then I'm just going to go over like this. Now you don't have to cover the whole thing because he does have blue undertones. So we're basically just going to be stroking in this green color on him. So you just take one section at a time and just put the color in. Okay, now he's got a lot of light right here because that's the side facing the light and the sun. So this side of him will be lighter. And then this one we'll do like this. So you see how you can alter the color a little bit if you want to. Like I said, this is your painting, so you can pretty much make them whatever color you want. Pumpkins come in all sorts of colors these days, seems like. You know, there's yellow ones, and I mean, there's the standard orange ones, there's white ones, there's some these blue ones. It's kind of fun to see all the different colors that are out there. So I'm going to make this part a little bit lighter like this, and then I'm going to come in with the shadows. So this part of them is lighter. So now I'm going back to my darker color. And if you already used up all your darker color, it doesn't matter if you have an exact match. You just need to be in the general vicinity because you're going to blend it. The darker color is going to come in right here, along the edge, down here along the bottom. Remember, the bottom is dark. I'm not used to talking when there's not anybody listening, so this is an adventure for me. Now what you're going to do now to make the darker shading for that is you're going to tip in a tiny, tiny little bit of red. into here to get a much darker color. So then when you come in down here where your shadow is, it's going to be quite a bit darker. And you're just going to blend your shadows up like this. Now I'm going to put a little more lighter orange on the one over here. He's still a little too dark. So wash your brush out real well. So we'll mix some red and yellow, more yellow. We're going to get kind of a golden color. And we're going to go back over here and we're going to do this. Clean up the edge a little bit if you went over the pumpkin. And we're just going to come in here and put a slightly more orange on him. Kind of a golden color. Like that. Over here too. There on top because he's got light coming in up here and hitting him, and right there. I'm not too concerned about making a video that is super polished and where it looks like I have everything together. That's a different video than this one. This instructional video, I don't mind if you see me experiment a little bit with it. It shows you different things you can do, and I think that's helpful. And we kind of sort stuff out as we go along. I've done this painting, this is the second time I've done it, and each time is a little bit different. So let's just fix this edge up here. Whoops. And this little part right here. There. And we're going to just drag that down a little bit. So the top of him looks like he's getting some sunlight. These videos are designed for people who are just learning how to paint. So my other videos where I do some of my other paintings will not be like this. Anyway, this one's intended for beginners, so I feel like letting you see stops and starts and everything will help you feel a little more at ease than trying to always follow somebody that's just, you know, racing through the painting and making it look super easy, and it is for them probably, but sometimes I find that trying to paint along with those people, I just get frustrated. So you need to find your own painting voice, and all I'm trying to do in these instructional videos is just give you some little tips, things that you can do, easy ways to paint. Okay, I'm calling a little more yellow on that pumpkin and she's done, and a little more white on the other one. So let me just do this real quick. As I said, I'm not going to do things quick, but I am going to do this part quick. Okay, so you just want to get some yellow paint on your brush and kind of wipe it off so you don't have a lot on there, and just go along like this. Just glaze it on top very lightly so you get the color, but it's not overpowering. And you can go back and do more layers if you want to once that dries. Just do a little more yellow on top there. And that way you get that highlight sunlight action going on here. And just blend it down like that. When you dry your brush off like that and paint, it's a technique called dry brushing, and you're just dry brushing some paint on top. So the other colors can still kind of shine through. You put the paint on your brush, you've added white to it, and wipe it off a little bit so that it's kind of dry. And then you're going to come along here, paint that back section, and then we're just going to do this. And you can blend it with your finger if you want to make the edge a little softer. You can also blend it with your brush. If you want to blend it with your brush, just do this and kind of get it down. You still need to, then you would need to take like another brush, and I rather use my finger. Fingers are good for little blending areas. You just kind of rub the paint down like this. Keep some baby wipes handy so you can get the paint off. Otherwise it comes off of your fingers very easily with soap and water. So we're just giving him a little bit of highlight in here too. Okay, see how we're doing that? And some right here, and some right here. Looking at this painting objectively, there are a couple of other things that I would do to it, which I will probably do very quickly right now. I won't even talk while I'm doing them. You can just see. The first thing, of course, is that we have to mix up some, a little more green to make it come up in front of the pumpkins. So what I do, you can use green, whatever green that you have, just add spots of yellow to it. And what I like to do to make a really nice olive green color, as I said before, is to use to use black and yellow. So you mix black and yellow together and it gives you a really pretty green. So then I'm just going to do our grass again. Remember, it's put the brush down, lift it up, put it down, lift it up. So these pumpkins are in grass. You want to get to where you don't actually see the very bottom of the pumpkin sitting there. So you're going to do that with this one. This one's gonna, the grass is gonna kind of come up around it like this because it's lying on its side a little bit. Okay, so just put some blades of grass in there. So start with the dark green, and then you're going to come in and put the yellow in, just like we did at the beginning of the painting. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining it to you. If you watched it, you know. So like I said, these are just little touch-ups. So I thinned down my brown a little bit so that it's very watery, and I'm just going to come up here and just barely run it over some of the bricks a little bit, just a little bit. Give them a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to give them a little shadow on the left and on the bottom. You can just, you don't even have to do the whole thing. Just, you want a little gray or brown, and just do it and blend it like that. That'll give them a little more depth. The only other thing I would do is do the same thing with white, which is thin it way down so it's like water, so you can actually see through the color on your plate. So you take a little bit of white and let me see if I can show you. You have a tiny bit of white on your plate like this. Mine's not going to be pure white, but that doesn't matter. And you start adding water to it. And you want to be able to see through it. So you want it to be so watery it doesn't even look like it's going to do any good. It's very runny and very watery. Then you just clean off your brush like this, and we're just going to put a little bit of a highlight along the top of the brick and down the right side. But you can just do that with, okay? So just on the top and on the right side, just a little. Wherever you can see the top of the brick. And then you're going to call your painting done. The only other thing you can do if you want to is you can of course keep going in and adding more interest to the flowers. You can add a little more color to them if you want to add, you know, a little more red in here or a little more yellow in there. You can do that. But other than that, this painting is done. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to see what you come up with when you do the painting. You could post it below so that I can see it, or you can go to the Nora Pulse Art Facebook page and post it there. See you later.